what are we going to accomplish tonight? Are we going to ratify this contract, fix it in the future, and move forward? Or are we going to persecute this to the full extent of the law here and put Seth in jail? Or
the reason we're here is because of this getting started, staff can't proceed. We need direction. So we need direction from the board. There's an opportunity to go into closed session to get potential other questions answered to legal staff that maybe not appropriate here. And then you as a board need to tell staff, this is how we're going to proceed with this contract, and then give us direction of what to do in the future.
I think we need to get down to the nitty-gritty legal wrangling on this and let us ask our stupid questions in closed sessions and figure out what we can and cannot do.
Okay, do you have any questions for staff?
Questions, I have one of them. That's staff. You told me on the phone when I asked about this, what the legal ramifications were and what, and the paper came out, a legal opinion of yours, basically the same thing you told me on the phone, that all the directors got with email. Now, I think I'm still free to talk about what we talked to about on the phone without it being, and I'm not bound by the document that came out.
Well, as far as options moving forward, in my opinion, it involves potential litigation. So I want to talk about that in closed session.
No, I agreed with you that we've talked in closed session. This had to be talked about open session for the public being here and so forth about the violation. And so that's the part I want to talk about. And I want to make sure that nobody's sitting here, other directors or management, refers to that letter that you can't talk about.
Well, the letter I wrote keeps being referred to. I drafted an opinion letter. It's privileged information. It's privileged until a majority of the board decides to waive the privilege. So, Bill, I would say refrain from quoting my letter unless the majority of the board decides to waive it.
I'm going to go this way. I'm going to have to speak to it, because if I don't speak to it publicly, then the whole thing goes away, the information I have. The way it's being handled right now, and what's coming, I'm going to have to speak about. Now, and I will.
So you're saying you're going to go contrary to legal advice, trying to protect the district, and you're going to ignore that and go ahead for the benefit of Bill Kellogg and talk about what he tells you is inappropriate.
No, we're supposed to have questions to him, not commentary right now.
That was a question to you.
No, I'm not.
It was a question, wasn't it? It was a question.
Okay, well, right now, I don't think, under a legal thing, I don't think we should talk about the opinion at all right now until after we've had closed session. Okay, so whatever you do, don't. Now I wanted this to get out of the way. Now I want to hear from the public. So before we go into closed session to discuss possible litigation, is there anyone from the public who would like to talk about this?
I got a question. This is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous. We try hard. I know someone's saying about, is it one of your things was, is it going to secure his job? A $1,500 sale. What did you sell last year in sales? Total sales last year. 1.2 million in sales. Is $1,500 going to make him an employer or not? Hell no. All right. Question for you. If I donate the windows, does everybody go home? No contract. Null and void, right?
Yeah.
District can have it, but we spent $5 grand on it. $5 grand part of the money that I paid for. Throw the contract away, throw the districts. Thank you very much.
That's kind of a nice thing he did. Seth, when he talked, his whole speech, when he referred to Miller Glass, he said "we," which kind of leads us to believe that Seth must be quite an important part of Miller Glass.
Been there for a long time.
And so to refer to it as we implies more than what we've gotten out of it.
I was trying to separate we, Miller Glass, we, the board. It was kind of
So
hard.
that you go,
I'm not too
I
of the
do.
weeds here, so.
And so I think that we as the public just want you to act in a manner that demonstrates integrity and transparency. You know, we don't expect you to be absolutely perfect, except Ken Hunt would like him to straighten up. But,
I think I am absolutely.
My wife says I think I'm working.
oh, your wife talks behind your back.
I know.
And so, you know, we just kind of want things done properly. Most of the boards I'm on, if something like this comes up, the Seths would recuse themselves. They wouldn't get involved. And so I would suggest that's what you do in the future. And that's a pretty simple, basic, easy way to handle all of this, and you know that, right?
I would almost check with the last person you just heard from. We probably just permanently recused ourselves from.
Well, the board was not involved in this. Seth didn't make a vote on this. I'd like to ask a technical question since.
But Seth was aware, you see, but Seth was out measuring windows, giving advice, and I'm sure that, and you're going to talk with the board.
I didn't
on,
measure any windows, I just looked at the plans.
On all this, that Seth knew he shouldn't get involved. Because you gave a little spiel to all the board members. So,
Well, prior to this happening, there had been no spiel like that. We thought since I had no financial involvement in it, because I'm not a commissioned employee, that me merely looking at the plans, I didn't do the quote, I didn't do the sale, but by me merely looking at the plans and making sure the windows slid the direction that I thought would be best, I was on the building committee. So I've seen these plans for going on 2.5 years, something, maybe plus on there. So
but
I
see,
wanted to make
again,
sure.
the public with transparency and integrity kind of looks at these things differently, Seth.
But I didn't look at the plans until
I
after.
don't think we should
But I shouldn't have conversations, you're right?
back and forth. Okay, I have somebody else who'd like to speak.
Good evening, my name is Betty Hanner, and I think that maybe you all are really missing the point to a great extent. I agree with what you said about setting out parameters on how things are to be handled. If that had been done before, the whole business with Seth having to write a letter, even stating in it that he was upset about the way that his character, yeah, that's a good word, that his character had been besmirched. That would never have happened. This kind of thing the board needs to think about, and it needs to make sure that it is protecting the board members, that it's giving them guidelines, and that the board members can go by those guidelines so they don't get caught in something like this, so the public doesn't have to wonder about the board and what you're doing.
Yes.
If all of this had, I think you need to go ahead with what you're talking about. So it certainly doesn't happen in the future. And I think the public and a lot of these other people here need an apology for that not having been done sooner.
Thank you, Betty, you're right.
Here's the problem as I see it. I just found out yesterday that Miller Glass had to bid for this. Now, George, of course, is in a bargaining agreement for this $30,000 raise. He's on the side that's procuring the windows. You're on the side that makes up your mind whether you're going to give him the raise. Obviously, there's two board members that's going to do it, and you should have, sir, declared publicly that your company was bidding on this a long time ago, because you by your own admission know there was. And that's what I see as the insult to the public is when you, of course, every board member works for somebody, but when you work for somebody and your company it's basically a public company like this one. It takes bids from somebody, and it's from a business that you're at. You have an obligation to disclose that to the public as soon as possible. And you didn't do that, sir. And so it looks like it's a one hand washes the other deal, because obviously we know how you're gonna vote on the raise. So that's what I say. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do we still need to go into closed session before we get to?
I'd like to speak before we go into closed session.
Well, I don't want you to speak before we go into closed session. You can speak after we come out, because I'm afraid you're gonna say the wrong thing. I don't want the district to be sued because of what you're saying in the open meeting.
No, the district won't be sued.
You don't know until you talk to our attorney in closed session.
Well, I already talked to the attorney.
Right, but we have all, the board hasn't as a whole.
The rest of the board hasn't. How long will the closed session take?
As long as we.
Things the board wants it to see.
Right.
Well, I will say at this point, that I am going to recuse myself of that closed session and any vote or decision that you guys make.
I think you should be in there though, no?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think you should get
You're
the,
not gonna learn anything from it.
I think you should get the advice, I really think you should get the advice of the council before you.
If he can
I
get,
can see why you're excused.
I think you can get advice after the fact, after
After
the
the
board's
fact.
given legal direction,
Okay.
but shouldn't be in there.
Okay, so we will now go into closed session, to talk with the legal counsel. Okay, litigation. And when we come out of closed session, we will make